So, as the new Jets regime made it absolutely clear earlier on this week, they will be moving on from quarterback Aaron Rodgers going into the 2025 season and beyond. Now, I've asked this question a bunch of times in the comment section below, and I've explained that I feel rather indifferent about the situation. I feel like in the short term, Aaron Rodgers probably gave the Jets it put them in the best position to win sooner rather than later. But if you want to look long term, it's probably better that he's not on the roster going forward. So that prompted an idea for a video for you guys today, and that's going to be 10 quarterback options for the New York Jets in 2025. Now, these are categorized in 4 different categories. It's trade options, in-house options, free agency, and the NFL draft. So it's not a top 10 listing. It's just 10 people, 10 players that I think could potentially find their way under center for the New York Jets in 2025 and possibly beyond. So, of course, number one are the in-house options. These are 2 guys that we're going to look at here. I forgot to mention as well, at the end of the video, at the end of the 10 quarterbacks that I have here, I'm going to have a slide that has my top 3 options or who are some real chances that I think could be the starter in 2025. So, of course, here you have Jordan Travis and you have Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is under contract for another year. And honestly, he's a perfect bridge quarterback for me. The 2025 quarterback class is not nearly as good as the quarterback class has been, like 4 out of the last 5 years, or nearly as good as last year, to be quite honest with you. That might go down as one of the best classes in history, to be quite honest with you. And then you have Jordan Travis, who they drafted last year. Had multiple leg injuries that he was recovering from after a brutal leg break late in the season in Florida State. Was on the PUP list basically the entire year. This is someone that if this, now this organization technically doesn't have any ties to Jordan Travis, I don't know if they would be willing to give him the keys, to be quite honest with you, but I wouldn't be surprised if he impressed quite a bit throughout training camp, throughout preseason, if he would get a shot to start this year. I think Tyrod Taylor, honestly, is a perfectly fine starting quarterback option for the Jets going forward. My only worry with him is the durability, the longevity of the season. He cannot and hasn't proven that he will ever be capable of playing a full 17-game slate. But be that as it may, I think he's a quarterback that gives the Jets a lot of promise going forward. I feel like if the Jets continued to work on their roster around the quarterback position and put a healthy Tyrod Taylor in that role, that's someone that I think could honestly get the Jets to the playoffs. Will he take them far to the playoffs, into the playoffs? I don't think so, but I think that he would do enough. Don't forget, this is the quarterback that broke Buffalo's playoff drought streak, was Tyrod Taylor. So anything is possible. I think if Tyrod Taylor could stay healthy for like 13 or 14 games, and you got Jordan Travis as a very viable backup going forward and potentially shows flashes as a long-term quarterback that you're comfortable handing the keys to the franchise to, I think you go forward with it. So these are guys that obviously, because they're still on the roster, will definitely get at least their opportunity to look at the starting spot this year. But I would not be upset at all if the Jets just kind of want to go, hey, listen, Tyrod's under contract. We're going to give him the keys. He's more than capable of starting NFL games. So I would not be mad at that. So we're going to move on to trade options now. So I have 2 guys, 2 older quarterbacks for the most part. Maybe Derek Carr, I guess, in terms of a quarterback, isn't necessarily older. Matt Stafford is, I believe, 37 right now. But yeah, these are the 2 trade options that I've come up with. This is just really a year where I don't think it's not going to be a crazy quarterback carousel as we've seen in the past few years. This is kind of like that one lull year where, the craziness probably will stop for this year and then maybe next year, especially with all the talented quarterbacks that are coming out of the 2026 draft class. But Derek Carr is someone that, Kellen Moore and the new Saints coaching staff, maybe they don't get behind Derek Carr. Maybe they trade Derek Carr, get some assets, blow it up, and just start from scratch. Derek Carr to me is a quarterback that has always gotten a lot more hate than he probably should have. Is he really good? No. Is he bad? No. I think he's a little bit beyond an above average NFL starter. Now, you could look at his stats and go, well, yeah, he's definitely way above average. But, if you actually watch the games that he plays, you know that he makes some pretty boneheaded plays throughout the course of the game. Yeah, he's perfectly slightly above average. And then you have Matthew Stafford, who got traded from Detroit, won a Super Bowl in LA, and has played like an elite quarterback since. And you could argue that to the day, until you're blue in the face, you could argue that Matthew Stafford is not an elite quarterback. I personally think he is. I think he's always elevating the team around him. I think he's a shoo-in to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, if we're being quite honest. And I think that he's still got a couple really good years left in the tank. So if the Jets regime wants someone established, wants someone with a veteran leadership presence that has a Super Bowl win under his belt, yeah, Matthew Stafford's a good option. It looks to be like his time might be done or coming to an end in LA. I could see LA trading Matthew Stafford for a day 2 pick to recoup something from him. And then, hey, you have Matthew Stafford with this roster that could win a lot more than 5 games. You never know. And then on the Derek Carr side as well, Carr, I think, could be a pretty decent option, for a year or two, a perfect bridge quarterback. A lot of these guys, to be quite honest with you, are going to be bridge options. Matthew Stafford being a bridge only because he's 37 and it's been floated. The idea of him retiring has been floated around more than once. Derek Carr is someone that I feel like Derek Carr is on that Andy Dalton trend of his career, where he was in one place for a long time. Now he's on the Saints. He's going to get, if they don't trade him, he'll probably get a chance to start. That'll probably be his last year starting for the Saints unless he lights the world on fire. And then he's just going to continuously be like a highly paid backup and somehow, some way find himself starting football games every single year. It happens with Andy Dalton. It happened with Colt McCoy up until recently, where just every year he somehow starts games. But yeah, these are the two options that I think if the Jets regime want to go for a trade, it could definitely be viable. These are shorter term options, which I think is what the Jets would be looking for if they were going to trade assets to get a quarterback. So then we have the 2025 NFL draft here. And now, don't get me wrong. Of course, I could put every single starting quarterback in the NFL draft on this list, but I chose 3 guys that I think could be a more realistic option for the New York Jets. So from left to right, you have Jalen Milroe, you have Kyle McCord, and you have Jackson Dart. And to be quite honest with you, out of the 3 of these guys, I am the biggest fan out of Kyle McCord. I think that Jalen Milroe is an incredible athlete, maybe with a ton of development, could become something like a Justin Fields type of quarterback at the NFL level. He's got all the talent. He's got all the athleticism. It's just a matter of if someone could put it all together. And then Jackson Dart is someone that I feel like his throwing mechanics are really off. But other than that, he's actually a pretty decent prospect. I think with sitting for a year or maybe even 2, developing his game, I think he could turn into a very, very viable NFL starter. But I think Kyle McCord gives you a little bit less athleticism than a lot less athleticism than the other 2 guys, but he is that traditional NFL pocket passer. He's going to just grip it and rip it. And I think that his skills translate, at least early on in his career, a little bit better than the other 2 guys. So these are guys that I think Jalen Milroe, when it's all said and done, is probably going to be a day 2 pick. Jackson Dart, I honestly couldn't even tell you. Jackson Dart is someone that I've seen his projections go every which way. I've seen him in the 1st round. I've seen him in the 4th round. I'm just going to say day 2. And then Kyle McCord is someone that at the beginning of the draft cycle was going to be a day 3 pick. Now looks like he could probably find himself in the day 2 discussion as well. It is a weaker quarterback class, but that's not trying to take anything away from these guys. All 3 of these guys are immensely talented in their own right. I just think that they all bring a different skill set to the table. But if the Jets want to go with a younger option at the quarterback position and look more long-term towards developing a quarterback, these 3 guys I feel like would be the top 3 options for the Jets. Will Howard is also someone, for those of you in the comments, I could already see it now. What about Will Howard? For those people that just go through the slides and don't actually listen to what I say, I think Will Howard would be a fantastic option too. That's a 6'5", 240-pound quarterback with a cannon of an arm and pretty decent ball placement. That's someone that I could see as well. But I think these are the 3 more realistic options. Apparently, Aaron Glenn and co. love Jalen Milroe. And apparently they love Jackson Dart too. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Jets do take a punt on a quarterback in 2025. It'll be interesting to see how early they go. So we're going to look at free agency now. Again, these are the three options that I think are the more realistic. Now, hear me out before you completely torch these. Sam Darnold is awesome. Would I love to see a Sam Darnold reunion in JetLife Stadium? Yeah, I would love that. The problem is, I don't think the Jets are going to be willing to pay all that money to bring him back. He just had a 35 plus touchdown season on a 13 win Vikings team. I know they crashed out in the first round, but he revitalized his career in Minnesota. Granted, he had a fantastic system. He played in a Kevin O'Connell offense. He had Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and he had pretty good tackles around him as well. So pretty ideal situation for a quarterback trying to revive his career. He's still just going to be 28 years old at the time that the NFL season rolls around. I just don't think financially he's an option for the New York Jets. I don't think if the Jets are going to go after a quarterback in free agency, I don't think it's going to be more than a 2 or 3 year deal. You have to think that Sam Darnold's looking for a 4 to 5 year deal, maybe even longer, in the range of $35 to $40 million after the season that he had. I don't think the Jets would be willing to give that up. That's why I don't have him here as one of my top 3 options. Jameis Winston would be cool. I was considering putting him here as well. Listen, Jets fans suffer throughout the season when they're eliminated from the playoff contention. At least we'd have a lot of fun if Jameis Winston was our quarterback. You're going to see a lot of picks, but you're going to see a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns as well. So I wouldn't be too mad at that option as well. But I thought these were the 3 more realistic. So let me go from the outside in. Russell Wilson just came off of a pretty decent season with the Pittsburgh Steelers on paper. But then you break it down, the last 5 games of the season, they didn't score more than 17 points. The offense kind of faltered. But with Russell Wilson, you get good quarterback play, low turnover rate, and someone that's going to be healthy for a 17-game season. A 1-year deal for Russell Wilson would not be something that I'm against at all. I honestly, Russ is my favorite option for the Jets right now. Then going to the right, you have Kirk Cousins. Now, the reason I have Kirk Cousins here is because I think he's going to be in a similar situation as Russell Wilson was last year, where he's on a team that clearly does not want him to be the quarterback of that team anymore. He's signed to a massive contract. The team is probably just going to eat the dead cap and cut him, and whatever quarterback needy team is out there can sign him for the league minimum or the veterans minimum. And I think that's exactly what it is. So in terms of financial means, I think Kirk Cousins would be the best option for the Jets because he would cost whatever the veteran minimum is. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I couldn't see him, after all that money he's going to be making or getting paid from Atlanta this year, I couldn't see him signing for anything more than the veteran minimum. So if you want just a quarterback to play for an entire year and get completely topsy-turvy play where 1 week he can throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, and another week he can throw for 115 yards and 5 picks, that's what you're going to get from Kirk Cousins. But I personally think Russ is the better option out of the 2. I could see both of them signing fairly cheap deals. Russ could probably be like a 2-year or a 3-year deal, honestly. Kirk Cousins is going to be that 1-year prove-it deal, prove that you're not washed unk. But I still think that, Russell Wilson actually has some good football left in him. And then you have Justin Fields. So I'll be quite honest with you. I wouldn't love the idea of Justin Fields being the quarterback of the New York Jets, only because, yeah, you could average out his stats for the Steelers this past year over a 17-game season, and it's like 16 touchdowns to 3 picks and like 800 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns, whatever it may be. That's a load of baloney to me. The offense never fully got going with Justin Fields under center. Granted, the running game wasn't 100%. The receivers just aren't there for Pittsburgh, so he couldn't really throw the ball to too many guys. But I don't know. I just, this is the second offense that he sputtered in as an NFL quarterback. If he wants to sign for a cheaper deal, a cheaper deal for a quarterback is what? The league average that a quarterback is making is like $22 million a year. So if he wants to sign like a 2-year, $45 million contract and play, that's more than fine with me. A lot of fans love the idea of bringing on Justin Fields to reunite him with Garrett Wilson. I don't really love that idea. Would I be completely against it? No, I'm going to go into it with an open mind, but I don't think spending the money that it's going to cost bringing Justin Fields in would make a ton of sense. But I wouldn't hate the idea either. I think that, And again, there's athletic upside. He's super young. He's going to be 26 years old at the time that the NFL season starts. So, if on that 2-year deal he does great, you could always sign him to a longer term contract as well. I just think the two guys on the outside make the most sense for the short term. Justin Fields is more of a long term signing for me. And with his unpredictability in terms of production, I don't know if I'm willing to give Justin Fields a long term contract to run my team. So now we have my top 3 options. This is what I think would be the best for the New York Jets going forward. Russell Wilson, I just talked about it. He is my top option. I think if you bring Russ in, this is where it gets tricky. You bring Russ in, what do you do with Tyrod Taylor? What do you do with Jordan Travis? Because then you have to think if they bring Russ in, they're probably going to be drafting a quarterback. Then what do you do with Tyrod Taylor? So do you keep Tyrod as your backup? You have Russ as your starter, and then what do you do with Jordan Travis? So it gets a little hairy there, but I think they're going to look past that. I think that Russ would be the best short-term option, a 1-year contract. He's a quarterback that I really do think could get the Jets the closest to, in the realistic scenarios, he is the quarterback that I think that could get the Jets the closest to the playoffs. Then you have Matthew Stafford. If the regime is looking to trade assets to get an established starter in there, I can't think of a better guy in the NFL right now that's on the trade block than Matthew Stafford. And then if they just want to stick in-house, I'm more than happy with having Tyrod Taylor as the starting quarterback. Like I highlighted it before, I think Tyrod can do and will do everything it takes to win a game in the NFL. I just think that his body won't hold up for a full season, so you need some kind of contingency plan. But I think these would be the best 3 options going forward. So Jets fans, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who do you want to see under center in the 2025 season? Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.